Hey guys, it's Maymay, and it's time to do this shaker tag that I have shown you guys on Instagram and Facebook, and you've been asking for a long time for this one, and I'm sorry it's taken so long, but I've had a lot of requests in the pipeline. So this little guy's super fun. He is made using the snow globe die. Let me show you this real quick. This little snow globe die, which is super fun, and I'll link all of this in my description or in my blog post in the description so you can get the products if you want them. He is super fun. And I had this in my head for the longest time and I wanted to make it. And this is one of those make a fuss projects. So this is not going to be quick. This is going to be one you sit down and play with for a while, but I'm going to show you step by step how I did it. So first things first, I stamped my snowmen. And I stamped them on white cardstock, just like this, and I used Memento ink. Okay, and I actually got started and didn't turn my camera on, so that's why we're a little ahead of the game, but no big deal. I'm using the stamp set called Winter Wonderland, and I'm using both of these two guys right here. I come back and use the trees in a little bit too. All right, I always do this anyway. If I'm going to color, I go ahead and stamp them out twice in case I make a mistake. That's just a good thing to do. So the colors I'm using are Spectrum Noirs. This one is CR10. This is going to be his little carrot nose. And I'm not doing any shading or anything. On my first one, I did some shading, and then I realized once I put it in the shaker card, you can't see it anyway, so not going to stress about that. All right, so I colored them a little bit opposite, little red, little stripy. So this one I'm going to do red just like that. Another reason for doing two of these, a couple reasons, you can do two of the shaker cards, but also when you get to cutting this out, if you make a mistake, you already have one prepped and waiting in the wings, and you don't have to go back and stamp again. It's just a little thing. You may not need to do two. You may be comfortable doing just one, but when I'm going to do these kind of make a fuss cards, I kind of try to get myself ahead of the game. So there's the red. Then I took blue. This is BT4 and wrong end. Let's do the right end. On this one, I colored his little hat just like this, just kind of to mix them up, but I'm using colors from the paper pad. And I went over here and did his little strips here in the same color. And that is, oh, and the band of his hat, I thought that was it. The cool thing about these kind of images, they already kind of have shading for you, so that works out real well. Then I used a dark gray on his hat. You could use a lighter gray if you wanted, but I just colored a little dark gray in the highlight area and his nose, both of their noses. Ooh, wrong side. I have a habit of doing that. Even though they're marked, I always open the wrong side. With these colors, they're so bold and this image is so small, I barely touch the paper and just kind of let the ink grab and bleed into the area. Now, this is the part that people do not love, and that is the fussy cutting part. I don't mind the fussy cutting. I think it's fun, and these guys are not hard to cut out, so I'll show you how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to cut right on the edge of the image. I think this is really cute to do this. And the reason I'm doing this is because the snow globe that I'm making, the background I'm putting him on, looks like a wintry snow background. And I didn't want to stamp directly onto that background because if I did, he would have had snow in his tummy. Like I would have stamped him onto a pale colored piece of paper, and that's what color my snowman would have been, and I want him to be white. Also notice I'm cutting away his arms and the shading on the bottom of this image. We're going to stamp it again in a minute and paper piece this together. So I don't need all of those pieces. That would be impossible to cut out. So I'm just going to run through and cut two of these guys out, and we will get on with making the shaker tag. This was super easy, but you can also do this on your scan and cut. If you have a brother scan and cut, that works just fine. See how easy? And again, I cut his arms and his shading off. I don't need that. So far, we're doing good. I may only have to cut out this little guy for our card, and I can leave those for another one. I want to show you this too. I'm even going to cut off the little tassels that are hanging off of his body here. I don't need to worry about cutting those perfect. I do need to cut the scarf, but the tassels, I don't have to because they're going to stamp when we stamp him down. So I'm just leaving the scarf. So basically, I'm just cutting all the solid images and leaving any of those little frilly parts of the image to stamp again later. So those are my snowmen ready to go into the shaker tag. I can move that aside, put my scissors away, and now we can work on building the tag. So I'm going to use all of the pieces of this except this center small piece. I don't need this piece. I need the rest of them. We're going to use this for our base, obviously, and this is going to create our snow globe. Now, I'm using 3 different papers and some acetate. You can see I've already made this once, so you can see I've got cutouts already. For the base, I'm going to use this red plaid. By the way, the paper pack I'm using is called A Perfect Winter. I think it's really cute. So I'm going to use this plaid for the base. For the background, I'm going to use this snowy scene. Remember, we're going to put these guys on this scene. Show you what they're going to look like. They're going to be in there like that. And this is the reason I didn't want to stamp him straight on the page. I wanted him to be white. So that's why we're paper piecing. So I'm going to get one of these. And then on this piece, I'm going to use both of these pieces. And I'm going to get the ring that's going to go around our globe. Let me show you it again. Okay, so here's our base. Our little blue paper is in the background, and then this is the ring that's going to go around. I'm also going to use this big one to cut out acetate. So I'm going to use my Cuttle Bug, and we'll get all of these cut real fast. So I'm using my A plate, my magnetic plate, a B plate that is worn out on top of that, and then another B plate on top. And I'm just going to stick this piece of paper in, stick this little globe base down. The magnet will kind of grab it and hold it in place for me. If you don't have a magnet, you can certainly use tape and hold that down. Just something that's really not too sticky. Get that through there. I'm actually going to use my pokey tool for what it's actually used for, and that's it. So this pops out like this. So now I've got my little base for my snow globe, so I'm going to set that aside. Now, just so you know, this is a cut, stencil, and emboss. So if you wanted to, I cut this out. I could leave this little piece in here and I could stencil inside there if I wanted to get those lines, or I could use ink or anything to color those lines in, or you can use one of those squishy mats in your machine and emboss it. I don't need to. It's still going to look like the base, so I'm not going to worry about that. But if you want to, those are three ways to use that die. All right, now let's cut the rest. Now I'm over here, and I'm going to take these 2 pieces. This is the outer ring and the inner ring of that snow globe. I'm going to tape these together, and I just keep painter's tape in my stash all the time. I was going to use that little polka dotted piece I showed you earlier, but I didn't have enough to get this cut, so I just changed to another piece. All right, so I'm going to stick this down. That magnetic platform grabbed it anyway. I'll run this through. And because I'm going to be using this again, I'm going to keep these taped together and remove this from the paper carefully, because I want to use the rest of that paper for something else. Remove this centerpiece. I don't need this piece for this project, but you can save it for another one. And then inside of here, I now have the ring for the outside of my snow globe. So that's ready to go. So I now have my acetate circle. I have my circle base for the back. I have my little stand, and then I have the ring that goes on top, just like this. And this is where I will sandwich my foam so that I can have enough room for glitter to go between. But I want to show you something I did, and it's kind of fussy. And again, this is one of those make a fuss cards. So you can decide if you want to do this or not. On the back of mine, let me show you real quick. Do you see how I have this solid piece right here? I want to show you how I did that. Again, it's fussy, but I'm making a fuss on this one. I'm going to go ahead and glue the base to this circle piece. I'm just going to run some art glitter glue along the edge of the top. And then I'm just going to line this up wherever I want it to sit. It's just the base, so you can decide how you want that to go. I think something like this. It's a little crooked. And then what I did was I took this and put it onto a piece of paper. The side that I want out, this is why it's important. If I do it this way and my image is not symmetrical on both sides, or it's not one same shaped image, then I won't be able to use the paper pattern I want. So you want to make sure, if this is the pattern you want on the back, I'll show you what I mean. If I want this pattern on the back, I want to make sure I trace it that way. And I do. So I'm going to trace this with a pencil. And then I'm going to cut this shape out so I can have a solid backer piece on the back of my tag. Again, it's kind of making a fuss, but it's fun. I wouldn't make these for every gift I give out, but it'd be fun to have for a gift here and there. I'll tell you this though, if you have a Brother Scan and Cut and you know you're going to be making a bunch of these images, you can go ahead and scan this into your Scan and Cut and cut out a whole bunch of this shape I'm doing right now, and you won't have to fussy cut each time because you can save the images that you scan in, and then you'll just glue that topper and the base to this right from where you cut it out on your machine. I'm just making the one now. So now I have this base, and so this will get glued to this when we're done, and that way I'll have a solid shape on the back. See how that is? So now it won't look like this on the back. It'll be covered up. Perfect. Okay, let's work on everything else. So I need to adhere my acetate to this ring, just like this. And I find that my sticky tape works really well for this. This is the thinner of the sticky tape. This is the 5mm, which is closest to 1/8 of an inch. It's slightly over 1/8 of an inch, but I find that this tape works really well for sticking to the acetate. So what I do is just kind of run it around, and then I just kind of pick it off here and there and just keep going. You can just run it in one full sheet or one full strip around. You could even put the full sheet adhesive onto your paper before you cut it out if you'd rather do that, but this works. So now that I've got all the adhesive exposed, I'm going to stick this piece down to the top of our acetate circle, and it's the same size as that outer circle, which makes it easy to line it up. And press that down. On the back, it's not pretty because you can see the adhesive through there, but we're going to hide that anyway. So then this piece is going to go here, but it's going to be lifted up as well. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm using foam tape, and you can see how wide it is. I'm going to cut it into strips that will be just enough to go around this snow globe. So I'm going to cut this down just by hand with my long Tim Holtz shears. I love using these for this, into a couple strips. I'm going to lay it on 2 thicknesses of this tape. The reason is this tape is very skinny or very thin, and I want to have enough room for my glitter to kind of flow in the tag. Another tip, not from me, I learned this from Christina Werner. You take this extra piece off before you stick it down. You take your release tape off, and then you put this down, and you'll be able to spin it around much easier because it won't be so stiff. It'll roll right around the image or right around the circle. So I'm just going to run this around on the edge of my shaker edge. I cut this a little short. I'm not going to worry about that. All I need to do is make sure I close that up. And just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and double this up. So 2 layers of the foam. So now I have my adhesive all the way around the ring, and I'm going to set that aside for now, and I'm going to start to work on this guy. Remember how I told you I was going to stamp some more on the background? Here's where I'm going to do that. These guys are going to overlap each other like this. I want to kind of do a little dry run and see if that's where I want them. And that looks good to me. So I'm going to stamp them in this area so I have those arms and things for me there. Let me get my stamp. So my first guy is the bigger of the 2. So let me get my little stamp inked up here. And I'm just going to kind of do him up in this area. I'm going to do him a little higher than I did my last one because I want him to show a little more. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the smaller one. And I'm going to overlap the stamp. This is way too big a block for this little guy, but it's the one I had handy. I'm going to overlap these guys. It will not matter in the end because we're going to paper piece anyway, but that way they'll make sense where they're at. And in my last one, I stamped some trees in the background. I think I'm not going to because you really ended up not seeing them anyway, but there's some little green trees, but they got covered, so I'm not going to worry about those. These guys, however, I'm going to glue these down, and you'll see how this makes sense when we do this. So right where the image is, I'm going to glue him down, just matching him up, match up his arm on both sides. And this is where all of the stuff we cut away comes back. See how now he's got his arms and the shading underneath? Perfect. That is paper piecing. All right, and then this guy. It's a form of paper piecing. There's also other ways to do it. This is one of them. Stick this little guy down, and now he's going to go over the other one, over the other snowman, but he'll be just where he needs to be. Now this is an embossing powder tool, and it's got powder inside, and this little brush will brush it out. You can do what I'm fixing to do with like baby powder or cornstarch, either one. I'm going to run this over the paper just like so. And what this is going to do is help me keep static down inside of my shaker. And it's also going to take away the sticky on the edge of my adhesive. Now, because I've already peeled off the release backer, I'm just being real careful here to not get that on top of my tape. But we'll be fine with that. You can wait if you want to, or you can put your sticky back down. But doing that way really helps you get that curve super easy. All right, then we need glitter. Oh, glitter. Here's some more. I've used so much glitter this week. This is some I picked up from Walmart forever ago. It's just some chunky glitter. And what I'm going to do is put it right in the middle of this little guy. And I'm not going to put as much as I did last time. I feel like I overdid it last time. So just that much. And I'm just going to make sure it's all off of the edges and in the middle. Just push it over there, out of our way. And something I'm going to do this time that I did not do last time is I'm going to add some art glitter glue to this circle, just in case I got some powder on it. Now, there are other ways to do shaker cards. You can cut out fun foam using your die instead of stacking up the foam tape like I did. You can even cut out several pieces of paper and stack it on top of itself to get that thickness around the edge. But this is what we are doing. Also, by adding that art glitter glue, it gives me a little bit of time to kind of move that and get that into place. And hopefully by adding, yeah, that's much better. By adding that powder, now you see how my snow sits at the bottom like it should in my original when I didn't add that powder. And you see how the static is everywhere and holding it. That helps so much by adding that. You could do it with baby powder, probably even, translucent makeup powder, you name it. All right. Now this guy is ready to go into the back, but I want to stamp him first. So I have this to and from stamp that is from my Action stamp set, and I just keep it on a block most of the time. So when I'm making tags, I can just stamp it just like this. And now the back says to and from, and I can then glue this onto here, just like so. Now this part is optional. I have this stamp from Stampin' Up! That's one of those like tag topper punches. It's got a hole in the middle like that. You take a piece, you slide it in, and you punch it. And I'm using a very small scrap piece. And I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to center this in the back because it's not quite the right size. There we go. And I'm going to punch. I'll show you what I get. All I want is this top edge. This is what I'm going to run my string through, but I'm going to glue this between these two guys. I'm going to sandwich it in here like this. So I have that little topper at the top. You can do that with anything. I'm just digging into my stash and finding what I've got and making it work. So glue here like so. And I think I'll stick it to this because I want the plaid to be on the front. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that my hole at the top is sticking out. That's what I'm going to use to put my string through. So kind of line that up. Then we'll add this piece to this one. We'll just sandwich them together. See why I'm calling this one making a fuss? Because you are making a fuss over this tag, and we're still not done. That is so cute to me. All right, get this guy all lined up good. Just like so. So there's the majority of our tag done. Now there's a couple more things. I made this little bow to put at the top. I'm going to show you how I do that. So I cut myself a strip of paper that it's a 6-inch long piece because it's from a 6x6 paper pad, but it's 3/4 of an inch wide. And I'm going to make my bow out of this. And I'm going to show you how I make these little bows. Taking your strip of paper, it doesn't matter the width, the length, it doesn't matter. You can do this with any scrap you've got. You're going to fold it in half, just like this. And then you're going to make a couple slots. I don't want to cut the middle. I want to keep this together, but I'm going to make an angled cut on this side and an angled cut on this side. They don't have to match. They can be as close to each other, as close to the same as you want or different. That's up to you. It's just a bow you're making. So I'm going to trim these until I get them just like I like them, just by eyeballing them. That looks great. So I have a nice thin center and two little angled pieces. Then I'm going to fold this back to that middle point on both sides. So fold that back and fold this one back right to the edge of the paper. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make some little angled slices. So one here and then one here. Ah, that's pretty close. I did good. So it will look like this when you finish. Okay, they make dies and things for this. I just discovered that this works really well. It's kind of a little cheater bow. That's the way I do it. Now these two pieces in the middle, I'm going to take a bone folder and just curl those because I want them to have a nice little curl and not fold flat. And then in here, we're going to do some gluing. So right on the other side, on each side of the fold in the middle, you want to put a dot of glue. Bring this edge to one dot and hold it in place to dry, and bring this edge to the other dot where they meet in the middle and hold it to dry. And that's going to give you your bow shape. Can you see that in there? It's hard for me to hold that. I'll bring it to the camera for you. So see what we just did? We made that little bow shape like that. The next thing I'm going to do, and this is something I've been doing lately, is I'm going to take these and I'm going to curl this, not curl it, but twist it out a little bit. I think it's cute to have the ribbon going in kind of an angle. And behind here, I'm going to put a dot of glue, and behind here, a dot of glue to hold that into place. And just rub some glue in there and let that stay. And then I can do my tails. Just do a little ribbon snip. And do the other side to match. I keep saying I'm going to get myself a die for this, but I find that I can make these in any old size I want just by doing them this way. So there's that little bow. Super cute. All right, let's get some baker's twine. On the back of the bow, I'm putting just a piece of sticky tape, and that's going to hold my baker's twine as I wrap it around. So I'm going to remove that protective backer there. And my baker's twine, I'm going to stick into that tape on the back and then wrap it around the front. I think I'm going to wrap it a couple times, but by putting that tape in the back, it gives it something to grab onto. And I'm just going to snip that away. Now, you don't have to use baker's twine in the middle. I just think it's cute. You can always just wrap paper around it. But that is my bow, and I'm going to glue it to the top of my tag. Lastly, I'm going to feed some baker's twine through this hole, and I'm putting the looped end through first, bringing that out, and then I'm going to open that loop and grab the loose ends to make a little slip knot. Don't pull too hard. That's just cardstock. You can easily pull that through. But that's it. That's your little shaker tag. Super easy, right? You can add all kinds of embellishments. And I want to show you this. On this one, I wrapped some baker's twine around the edge to hide the workings. You can do that. It's super easy. All I did, I used a different baker's twine. That one's a little fluffier. But you just put some glue. I could do this. Let's see. We'll do it real quick. So I just ran some glue around the edge. I thought this was a cute way to kind of hide that foam. So wrap some glue and then take your baker's twine, stick that in the glue, and it just kind of dresses up the edge. Isn't that cute how that does that? Just a good way to hide those workings. You could do it with ribbon. You could run a string of pearls around it, whatever you wanted to do to just kind of hide it. Just put some glue in that edge and wrap it around. And there you go, all done, your little shaker tag. I think he is adorable. I love how wrapping the baker's twine around the edge looks. I think it's super cute. The glue's still drying, so I'm going to let that one sit. And here is my first one. You can see the little bit of differences. This one's much better because I don't have all the static holding the glitter up inside, and you can see the snowman much better. So be sure to use some powder to do that. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. It was super fun. Again, if you want to see the products that I used, I'll have those listed in the blog post that I link below. And if you make one of these, we want to see them. Head over to any of our social media, to our Facebook groups, to our website where you can share your products in our customer gallery. So many places to share and see what others are making. Thanks so much for being here and being a part of our crafty day, and have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.